Hello YouTube, my name is Nero, and today we have some Call of Duty Black Ops 3 playing a bit of Kill Confirmed here on the map Combine, running around here with the Shiva. Sorry folks, but I'm going to quickly swap out from the Shiva because I didn't mean to pick this class. As you guys can see right here, I picked up 2 kills, then I died, then just like magic, bam, I spawn in, and here's the HVK. This is the weapon I wanted to use. I wasn't feeling the Shiva this match. I wanted to use the HVK because I feel as though it's going to work out pretty well here on the map Combine, and boy, I was right as that guy picks up a collateral right there. Let's go ahead and grab these tags. Today's video is going to be a pretty interesting one because it's so opinion-based, right? It's all so subjective, and I want to gauge your guys' feedback on it, as well as I want to give my own personal opinions on this entire idea as well. So yesterday they released a new trailer for Black Ops 3. It's for the Awakening DLC, and essentially what it was it was going to show us a bit of what the map Skyjacked was going to look like, which is of course going to be the remake of Hijacked from the original Black Ops. I did a comparison video, which was actually pretty fun. I thought it was fun, like firing up Black Ops 2 for the first time since Black Ops 3 has come out, and going into theater mode, and, trying to recreate the Skyjacked trailer, but with Hijacked, shot by shot. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed putting together that video. But in the comments of that particular video, as well as just a bunch of other videos I've seen, because I'm constantly reading feedback. If it's not on my own videos, it's on other people's videos, or it's on Reddit, or it's somewhere, right? I'm always reading feedback from the COD community. And even ever since the game has come out, basically, people have been talking about the idea of DLC weapons. Will we be seeing DLC weapons? And in fact, with the implementation of specialists here in Black Ops 3, will we be seeing DLC specialists? It's a very tricky road, a very fine line you have to walk down when you're trying to put together DLC weapons or the idea of DLC specialists, because if you're going to make it paid DLC, you have to make sure that those particular characters or that particular weapon isn't ridiculously powerful. Treyarch is not very well known for making DLC weapons. They made the first DLC weapon in the Call of Duty series. It was the Peacekeeper back in Black Ops 2, if you guys remember that. That was the first DLC weapon in the Call of Duty series, and in fact was the only DLC weapon that Treyarch has ever put together. If they were to implement a new DLC weapon, they would have to try to make sure that it's a balanced weapon. A lot of people have a very bad taste in their mouth after Advanced Warfare, because with Advanced Warfare, it was kind of pay to win in some respects with the supply drops and the fact that you could actually get better weapons out of these supply drops as compared to the base variants. Now, were they much better? Not like ridiculously better, but they were in fact better. Sometimes if you were to die, let's say you're using a ball 27, or some people call it the BAL or the ball, I don't know, I call it the ball. If you're using the ball 27, right, and you get outgunned by someone else, and you think to yourself, like, how did he outgun me? That person is using the exact same weapon that I'm using. How is it possible that he outgunned me? And then you look at it and it's like, oh, so we're both using the same weapon, but he has a better variant. He has the Obsidian Steed. His is a lot better than just a normal base variant of the ball 27. So therefore, he outgunned me because he has a better weapon. So that's always something to keep in mind if you're a developer, is the idea that you need to make sure that if you're adding in weapons that you actually have to pay money for, or that just not everybody has access to, that those weapons are kind of in line with the rest of the weapons. But then again, there's never really going to be a perfect balance in Call of Duty. I think the only time that I considered anyway a DLC weapon to be pretty powerful, if not one of the best weapons in the game, was actually Call of Duty Ghosts. I thought that the Ripper submachine gun / assault rifle was one of the best weapons in Call of Duty history. It quickly became my favorite weapon in that game. I used it a ridiculous amount of times. I mean, looking back at my videos from Call of Duty Ghosts, the majority of them were with the Ripper after that weapon actually came out. It was just one of my favorite weapons, and it was in fact a DLC weapon that you had to pay real money to be able to acquire. If they were to add DLC weapons into Black Ops 3, I feel as though the free-to-play route is definitely a pretty good way to go, because that way everybody gets it, right? If you don't have to pay for a particular weapon and you just get it as like kind of a bonus for being a loyal fan of the game or what have you, then more people are going to be inclined to want to use it, and less people are probably going to give you negative feedback based upon that weapon if it's free and everybody has access to it, as compared to if you were to include it like bundled in with a DLC pack. Then sometimes people will be like, well, let's just see how powerful this thing is, because we have seen in the past certain DLC weapons being completely terrible. We saw a number of weapons that came out in Advanced Warfare, then some of them weren't even paid DLC. Sometimes they were just randomly added into supply drops to try and incentivize us to buy more supply drops and advanced supply drops, and some of those weapons were just terrible. Like the blunderbuss, for example, was freaking awful. So many people tried to defend that thing as if it were good for absolutely anything, but seriously, the blunderbuss was like the worst weapon in Call of Duty history. There's no situation where that thing is better than any other gun that's ever come out in Call of Duty ever. It's like by far the worst weapon in Call of Duty history, in my opinion. So they would add in these weapons. Sometimes they would be good, sometimes they would be bad, but overall, people got bad taste taste in their mouth because there was different weapon variants in Advanced Warfare. Therefore, even if they had a good weapon, sometimes someone could have a better weapon, they would just be inherently at a disadvantage, especially if you were trying to play competitive Call of Duty and stuff like that. Like if you were trying to play competitive COD, but you didn't have a certain weapon variant that was like in the current meta, like one of the best weapons for them to use, then they kind of put you at a disadvantage because everybody else is running around with these ridiculously good variants while you're sitting there running around with a default or a slightly above average variant. So you always have to think about that in terms of the competitive sense, although I don't, admittedly, I pay little attention to competitive Call of Duty. They may have actually changed that at some point in Advanced Warfare, making it so weapon variants were like not allowed. I don't know if that's ever the case. That's a little I pay attention to competitive Call of Duty, but it's just something to think about, right? It's something to think about. So if they're going to be adding DLC weapons to the game, which again, they have not announced that whatsoever for Black Ops 3, no DLC weapons have been announced, no DLC specialists have been announced, it's a very fine line whether or not that's going to be a powerful specialist or a powerful weapon or not, and whether or not it's going to be too powerful, too underpowered, so on and so forth. Let's make an example here. Let's say they were to add in a specialist as DLC. Now, let's say, for example, for all intents and purposes, that specialist was Firebreak with the Purifier Flamethrower. Now, if that were added into the game as DLC, can you guys imagine how bad people would freak out if you had to pay money to be able to unlock Firebreak? Because he just goes out there with his flamethrower, and all he has to do is hit you once with it, and then you instantly just die. I mean, that's one of the best specialists in the game, in my opinion. I love like playing hardpoint or something like that, and you go into the enemy hardpoint, you just spin around in circles with your flamethrower, and you kill everybody in the room. It's amazing. It's ridiculously powerful. So if that were to come out as a DLC specialist, I think people would freak out. And so with that example in mind, it's very hard to come up with an idea for a specialist that they could add to the game that people wouldn't think would be too powerful or too weak, and that would be okay for them to pay money for. If they were to go ahead and actually add in DLC weapons or specialists, I think they would do the free route. I think they would just say, hey, here's a brand new weapon, feel free to download it and have some fun with it. I think that would be very good for them to do. It would definitely build up a lot of community goodwill, which they already have a bunch of. I think if you look at all the different developers of Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer, I would say that Treyarch probably has built up the most community goodwill over the years, definitely. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Treyarch. They can do no wrong in my eyes anyway. I love all of the Treyarch games I have. You know, the past 4 of them have been amazing in my opinion. They've only made 4 of them since I started playing Call of Duty, so I've always liked the Treyarch games. I love the way that they do things, so in my opinion, they're the best, and I think the court of public opinion has shifted, whereas back in the day, I think more people thought Infinity Ward was better, but nowadays, I think people would tend to agree that Treyarch would be the better developer, so they already have a lot of community goodwill, and if they were just to add in a couple little tiny things, like we learned last year with Advanced Warfare, it's ridiculously easy for them to just make a DLC weapon. I mean, how many DLC weapons did we see in Advanced Warfare? Heck, they're still making them. They put out a bunch of other DLC weapons after the game's life cycle essentially ended and Black Ops 3 came out. Like, there's a bunch of them now. There's like a lever action rifle they even add into the multiplayer. So if there's one thing we've learned from that, and one thing that we've learned from Sledgehammer Games and Advanced Warfare is that it's very easy for them to make these weapons. One thing I would like to point out, and this is something that people jump on so quickly, if they were to add in DLC weapons, I do not think that they would go the Sledgehammer route and put them in supply drops to try to incentivize us to buy more supply drops. I just think that's a line that they won't cross. Now, they may do it. I'm not saying that they're not going to. I don't represent Treyarch, obviously. They may do it in the future, but I seriously doubt that they would. Again, they have so much community goodwill. Vonderhaar's a really smart guy. He knows that the community would react to that pretty negatively. If everything is just cosmetic the way it is right now, I think everybody's okay with it. And to add in actual weapons that would actually change things into supply drops, I don't think people would be okay with that. So ultimately, will we be seeing DLC weapons in the future? I don't know. That's the thing. None of us know. I would love to see DLC weapons in the future. That would be awesome. Again, going back to the example of Sledgehammer and Advanced Warfare, we could definitely use a lot of DLC weapons. Like, they could just continue to throw in DLC weapons. What's that? Here's a double barrel shotgun. I notice we don't have any of those here in this game. Have a double barrel shotgun. What's that? You want a new bolt action sniper? Bam! New bolt action sniper for you to play with. Let's add in a laser rifle for the fun of it. You know, let's add in, akimbo only pistols or something. Like, let's add in some fun stuff. If they were to do that, that would be awesome. If they would do it be your paid DLC, I would be okay with that. I'm all for paid DLC. I always have been. I've always thought that if you enjoy a game enough and you would like to purchase more stuff for that game, then more power to you. But again, there's always that fine line. If you're going to have a DLC weapon that you basically have to pay money in order to access, then you need to make sure that weapon's not too overpowered. But at the same time, you don't want it to be so underpowered that it's not usable. It's a very fine line right there. So I would be all for that if they were to add in, free DLC, and they were just to give us DLC as part of an update saying, hey, for signing in today. Here you go. Have a weapon. You know, that'd be cool if they were to do that as well. The idea of specialists is a very interesting one indeed, because there's so many specialist abilities out there. You know, we have all the specialists already in the game, plus each one of them actually has 2 different abilities that you get to choose from. What specialist would you actually want? Now, here's the thing. Some people are saying that like you can't actually add more specialists to the game because they've covered all of their bases. People ask me all the time, Nero, if you could make your own specialist, what abilities would he have? And it's really hard for me to come up with an answer. It really is, because a lot of the bases are covered here with these specialists that we have in Black Ops 3. There's no real ability that I would think to myself like, yeah, we need that. We are severely lacking this one particular ability. You know, we have reduced damage in general. We have the ability to go invisible. We have the ability to basically have the commando launch. We have a minigun. We have a flamethrower. We have the ability to run ridiculously fast for a short period of time. We have the ability to do like a big AoE stun. We have the ability to do a big AoE damage effect. We have a bunch of ridiculous abilities, and really off the top of my head, without putting in too much thought, like I think if I were to, you know, dedicate a good hour or something to this thought, I could probably figure out a cool specialist or something like that. But just off the top of my head, I can't think of any because they've really covered a lot of their bases here in Black Ops 3. So I still do anticipate more specialists to come, because I think between all the minds there at Treyarch and just all the minds of the community in general, that we're going to be able to come up with some really cool ideas for a specialist. And I think that there is going to be specialists coming out in the future. Now, again, how they're going to do that, I don't know. It's a very fine line if they're going to make us pay for specialists, because again, going back to the example of the Firebreak, if Firebreak was a DLC specialist, people would freak out because his flamethrower is too powerful. Same thing can be said for the Reaper, right? Same thing can be said. So it's a very fine line that they're going to have to walk. Now, will they actually cross that line? Will they cross that line and give us a ridiculously powerful specialist that you have to pay money to be able to access? They could. We don't know. Will they make a free specialist for everybody to have? They may. I don't know. You know, I can't predict these things, but I think it's a very interesting topic, and therefore I wanted to make a video discussing it, and that's exactly what we did here today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Drop me a rating wherever you guys feel it deserves, and of course, I would love to hear in the comments, what weapons would you like to see come as DLC? They could be either existing weapons from the Call of Duty franchise that we've seen before, or maybe a new idea for a weapon that you may have. Like, for example, this is kind of a new weapon, kind of a not. I think it'd be cool to have a lever action, you know, like a semi-automatic rifle, like what we had in Advanced Warfare. I've never even used that gun because it came out after the life cycle of the game, and I'm not going back to Advanced Warfare when I have Black Ops 3 to play. So I think it'd be cool to have a lever action rifle. That's what I hunt with. I hunt with a 30-30 Winchester. I think it's a fun weapon. I like lever action weapons. So it'd be cool if they were to add something like that into Black Ops 3 somehow. Now, I get that the Argus is technically a lever action shotgun, but a lever action rifle I think would be pretty cool. Yes, I know people say I say lever wrong. It's like, no, it's lever. No, you can actually say it both ways. But I think it'd be cool to have a weapon like that. A double barrel shotgun, I would love to see. I've said it many times, I'd love to see a double barrel shotgun return in Call of Duty. There's just a lot of weapons. So what weapons would you guys like to see return, or what new weapons would you guys like to see in Black Ops 3? As well as if you could come up with an idea for a specialist, let us know about that specialist in the comments. Maybe give us a name, give us an ability that they can pick, because everyone has an ability or a weapon to choose from. So let me know the weapon and let me know the ability, and I'll definitely be interested to read what you guys come up with. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Drop me a rating, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.